Good evening. I'd like to call tonight's legislative meeting of the Upper Dublin School District Board of School Directors to order. It is December 16th, 2019, and it is currently 7 p.m. here in the Cardinal Room of Upper Dublin High School. Welcome. And if you would, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Thank you. Ms. Evans, would you take roll call, please?
Dr. Davis.
Here.
Mr. Henderson. Ms. Ioniti. Dr. Levinowitz. Mr. Ropsky. Mrs. Sherpier. Mr. Sirota. Mr. Wallach. Ms. Francic.
Here.
All present. Thank you.
Thank you. Tonight, I'd like to begin with just a few comments. First of all, I am pleased to be here tonight as the new board president. Many of you know that Dr. Levinowitz is now going to be serving as president-elect of the Pennsylvania School Boards Association and has served our board as president for many years extremely well. I have big shoes to fill, so forgive me tonight if there's any missteps. I'm going to take it slow and try to get everything just as it should be. We also welcome Dr. Darlene Davis to the role of vice president, and I'd also just like to welcome all of our new board members to their very first legislative meeting. Go easy on them. We also just need a quick announcement that we do have several very special members of our high school community here tonight. There's going to be a little presentation for them, and we will be having a brief recess for photos after the presentation. Also, please note that going forward in 2020, it's hard to say that, 2020, wow, we are going to be making some changes to our board calendar, the committee meetings, and the like. Those are all in the agenda that you received tonight and are posted online. They're going to be also posted to our district calendar via the website. And additionally, changes to our board committee structure will be announced in January. And of course, tonight we're going to be making some moves as well. Also, lastly, I just would like to say thank you. Thank you, thank you. There is never enough thank yous for our dedicated staff. The administrators that come here in the evenings to be present at our meetings, who sit on countless committees, who do countless hours of work with our students and our staff. So thank you to all of you that sit around this table, in particular Ms. Evans, who is our board secretary and also just generally is the engine that keeps us running, especially with all of our new board members in place. She's doing a lot these days for us, so thank you. And of course, Dr. Yanni, who just leads us with such distinction. So with that, I would also wish all of you happy holidays and a good break. And we'll say that once again before we adjourn. And now, I just wanted to say two quick things that Dr. Yanni has mentioned to me. We have a few special recognitions. Jackie Vargas, one of our fantastic high school basketball players, is the 18th Upper Dublin student athlete to score 1,000 points. That's an amazing achievement. Congratulations to Jackie. Our cheerleading team is going to states. We have had an enormous number of concerts over the last couple of weeks. I've been to a couple. They have been phenomenal as always. Thank you to our music department. And finally, there are a few final concerts this week, so I hope you will please check out our calendar and get to one. With that, I would like to normally turn it over to our student government report, but our student representative, Daniel Kaplan, is ill this evening. We wish him well. And instead, now I will turn it over to Dr. Yanni for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Ms. Francic. So, as Ms. Francic said, we do have several new board colleagues sitting at our board table, and we welcome all of you to be part of our board moving forward. In just a few minutes, we are going to honor the 8 National Merit semifinalists and 6 commended students. I think it's a real point of pride for our district to have this number of students reach the semifinalist level and also to be commended. Their academic achievements are absolutely outstanding, and it's a real pleasure to get to see all of you here tonight and to celebrate all that you've accomplished. On the agenda this evening, there's a recommendation to accept a donation from Ms. Jill Feldman in recognition of her husband, Mr. Ronald Feldman, who, until his passing recently, was one of our township commissioners. The donation is $49,734.12, and that sum of money represents the leftover money from the last couple of years, the Greenfield Youth Film Festival that has taken place in the district. Those funds are going to be used right here in the high school to upgrade our forum room to make it a real, not just a learning center, but a technologically sound learning center. Last week, we said goodbye to Mrs. Michelle Clegg, our Director of Pupil Services. We will all miss Michelle and know that her impact will be felt for some time, and we're currently in the process of identifying candidates to fill that role. Earlier today, we welcomed Ms. Megan Candido to Upper Dublin. Megan will serve our district as the Assistant Director of Human Resources. She'll be working with Ms. Kitten. Tonight, the board, it is recommended that the board approves the Act 1 opt-out resolution. That resolution limits any tax increase for the upcoming year in our district to the Act 1 index, which is 2.6%. Our budget work continues and will continue for the next several months, and we'll have much more information to share as the school year progresses, and we'll be holding at least one town hall about the budget. As Mrs. Francic said, our committee meeting structures and legislative meeting structures have changed just a bit. We're moving the policy committee to the evening, so education and policy will meet typically on the first Wednesday evening of the month. Finance and operations will join and become one committee, and that will typically meet on the third Wednesday of the month, with our legislative meeting being the fourth Monday of the month. If you've driven by the Sandy Run Middle School site, you will see that the entire building pad for the new building has been laid out and work is continuing. We will start to see walls going up over the next couple of weeks, and by February, we'll start to see the steel structure for the new Sandy Run emerge. Don't forget to check out our district calendar, and we'd like to wish everyone a great winter break and hope that everyone celebrates whatever holiday you celebrate, that it's wonderful for you and your family. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Yanni. Our next event this evening is a presentation. We'd like to welcome Mr. Bob Schultz, principal of Upper Dublin High School, and Ms. Donna Ward, our head of guidance at the high school, to make this outstanding presentation.
Thank you very much. Members of the board, administration, thank you for the opportunity tonight to introduce you to some of Upper Dublin's finest. We talk about excellence in a variety of areas. Tonight we are going to celebrate those who excel in the area of academics. If I have my numbers right, approximately 1.5 million students take the PSAT in their junior year in order to qualify for various scholarships and recognitions at the end of that. Across the entire nation, approximately 50,000 students are recognized, and we are incredibly proud to have 8 students recognized tonight as being National Merit semifinalists, and again, as Dr. Yanni already said, 6 students recommended as commended scholars. So I'm going to have Ms. Donna Ward, our fantastic supervisor of the guidance department, come up and introduce those students. Students, on a logistical note, when your name is called, this is going to be slightly awkward, but you'll do fine. If you would please meet me in the back, I will hand you your award, and then if you could walk around to the front and shake the hands of all the dignitaries in front of you, that would be outstanding. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the families and the friends who are in the audience tonight. It is based on your support, your love, and your sharing these excellent students with us that we have a chance to recognize them for the work they've put in and for the accomplishments that they've received. So thank you all, and would you please welcome Ms. Donna Ward to the microphone now.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Good evening, and a special thank you to our newest board members, all the board members, parents, especially our students who are here tonight to be recognized, family, and friends. As Mr. Schultz said, my name is Donna Ward. I am the guidance supervisor, and I am honored to be here tonight to recognize our students for their accomplishment in the National Merit Scholarship Program. As Mr. Schultz indicated, approximately 1.5 million juniors and more than 22,000 high schools have taken the PSAT, and the students here tonight represent the 50,000 highest scoring students in the country. Tonight, I will begin by recognizing our National Merit semifinalists. These academically talented students represent less than 1% of United States high school seniors. Semifinalists, as I call your name, please come to receive your plaque and be recognized for this remarkable accomplishment. Andrew Chen. Annie Chang. Caleb Cho. Amy Gong. Daniel Kaplan. Ryan Lim. Frank Wang. And Jeffrey Shu. Approximately 2/3 of the top 50,000 high scorers of the PSAT received letters of commendation in recognition of their outstanding academic promise. My apologies. Commended students, as I call your name, please come up to receive your certificate and be recognized. Sarah Brockman. Christopher Chu. Catherine Hong. Christopher Kinney. Hannah Kaiserman. And Franklin Shee. And congratulations to all semifinalists and commended students. Thank you. And a last note before you all leave, if I could get a quick photo of everyone, of the students outside of the Cardinal Room, please.
We'll take a brief recess for photos. And thank you, families, for coming tonight.
What password did you make?
I can change it to change. Probably using his. Tell him to drop the UDSC.
I sent that to you, Bob.
Mr. Henderson, if M. Henderson.
We'd like to resume the meeting now with our next item on the agenda, which is community input. Just going to make a couple of quick comments about community input. We always welcome the comments of the community. Did want to remind folks about two items. First, that be aware that all meetings are recorded and therefore all community comment is recorded. And I think maybe that was the only thing I wanted to say. Okay, that was it. And moving forward, we invite folks up to please state their name, where they're from in the community, and provide their comments. Oh, I remember. And the feedback for this community input is regarding agenda items.
Thank you. Anita Brister, Fort Washington. I wanted to comment on the new proposed student civic engagement policy. And I did have some email contact with Dr. Yanni, so he explained that this is I thought it was a second reading tonight and then possibly a vote tonight, but he explained to me it's the first reading, right? Which is probably a good thing to take your time with this policy. But anyway, so I have a couple concerns. One of them is that we have another policy on the books, which I think has served the district well, and that's in the 700s. I think it's 707, access to district facilities, and there's language in there that prohibits political campaigning. And then there are certain exemptions, obviously, if you're using a building like we used to use this high school for election day. Obviously, there might be some campaigning going on election day. But in general, Upper Dublin has prohibited, we don't give out election literature in the schools, and I think that has served us well to keep our school buildings, which are public school buildings, paid for by everybody of every persuasion, nonpartisan. So you might say, well, this policy is not about campaigning, But I have some problems with the language in here. It is in the back of this agenda, but it says page 11, so I'm not sure you'll be able to find it. But under the guidelines, the part that concerns me the most is, and this is, I guess some of you already know, it's a voter registration drive, and if you get 65% of your eligible students, 18-year-olds to sign up, you get some award from the state. I mean, honestly, unless this is a $100,000 something award from the state, I think that's ridiculous. Because there's an obvious downside to this. But anyway, the language I'm most concerned about is where it says in the middle of guidelines, the district will provide information about voting rights, political parties, and other pertinent information about the electoral process. So first of all, who is the district? I mean, quite honestly, I'd probably have some confidence in it if it was Dr. Yanni was going to handle this whole thing himself. I'm not suggesting you want to do that, but who is the district? I mean, is it Mr. Schultz, who I respect and actually like a lot? Is it some random teacher who might be wonderful, or is it a random teacher who might be very partisan? I mean, I'm not going to get into this at community input, but I do have a body of information on some very partisan comments made by teachers in front of their classes, and we certainly wouldn't want those teachers being the ones who are going to educate our students about political parties. I mean, obviously, it's really simple for kids to register themselves, whether, at home, online, takes 10 minutes at the most. Probably for a smart kid, it takes 5 minutes. So I don't want to see opportunities for peer pressure, criticism if you don't vote for the party that, some other kid thinks you should be, or you don't register for that party. And I don't want to see more opportunities for bullying. So I think, I mean, if it was me, I would not have this policy, because I don't care what Governor Wolf, if he thinks it's a great idea, it's in conflict with Upper Dublin's tradition of keeping partisan politics out of our buildings. And I would encourage anyone who hasn't looked at it recently to look at policy 707, which is about the use of our facilities and no campaigning there. But at a minimum, since you have time, and this is going to go back to a policy meeting, I would say I would like to see much more specific language and more clear language in those guidelines. Thank you.
Seeing no other community members for input, we'd like to close community input. And do we have, Dr. Yanni, any feedback or comment?
Our January Policy Committee meeting will be the first Wednesday of the month, and I think this policy warrants some discussion, and I think there'll be multiple perspectives that are shared at that time.
Thank you, and just as a follow-up, that is part of why I'm very pleased that we're going to be moving our policy discussions to the evening to have more robust opportunity for discussion among more board members and the community. Any other board members with comments or questions? All right, seeing none, we're going to move on now to announcements and communications. Mr. Leckman, do you have anything for us tonight?
No announcements this evening.
Thank you. Now we're moving into some of our action items. We first have the minutes from our committee meetings in November and also our November 25th legislative meetings. Do I have a motion to approve? Second? From anyone? Thank you, Ms. Ioniti. Any comments or questions? Okay, seeing none. Take a vote for the approval of the minutes. All members in favor, say aye. All opposed, say no. Okay, the minutes are approved. Next, we have our Education Committee and curriculum recommendations. And due to the fact that we have only a few of our remaining board members, we are also going to have Mrs. Sherpier take care of this item and item number 10, the pupil services as well. So Ms. Sherpier.
All right, thank you, Ms. Franczyk. I'd like to propose to take a motion to take 8A and B and 10A. Sorry? Oh, yes, that's the information one. So, sorry. 8B and 10A and 10B.
Do I have a second? Second. Thank you. Do I have any comments or questions? Seeing none, take a vote. All in favor of moving those items forward I'm sorry, say it again. I'm sorry, not moving forward. To approve those items, 8B and 10A and B, please say aye. Any members saying no, please say, any members who are not going to approve, please say no. Okay, the items are approved. Okay, moving on to Operations Committee. Mr. Sirota will be covering these items tonight.
Thank you. We have 4 items under operations. Item A is our regular monthly disposal of excess, obsolete, non-repairable equipment, which contains some old scanners. And items B, C, and D were all discussed at the Operations Committee last week. I'll note that item B, the dollar amount is lower than it was when we discussed it last week, now at $74,527.51. So I move that we take all 4 of these items. 74, what did I say? Oh, 74,000, yeah, thank you. $74,527.51.
We're going to have to revisit the tax issue on that one.
Yeah. No, well, this is coming back to us. This is good stuff.
Okay.
Anyway, I move that we take all 4 of these items.
All right, do we have a second? Thank you. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll take a vote to approve those items. All board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Those items are approved. Mr. Sirota is also kindly going to cover the Finance Committee recommendations as well.
Okay, before I do that, let me just correct the statement I made in just a moment ago. That item D is an expense for us, not a return.
Okay.
But either way, the dollar amount is $74,527.51. Okay, under Finance, we have our regular payments and treasurer's reports as items A and B. And then we have an agreement that was not discussed in committee, item C, to approve a transition from Frontline to Power School for Human Resources. And so I will move that we take those. Actually, A and B are informational. So I would move that we take item 12C. I'm sorry. Wow, we are all having trouble tonight, aren't we? A and B are not informational. They do require. So thank you. 12A, B, and C.
I will second.
Thank you. And as a comment, just to clarify, we have reviewed the changeover to Power School. So I just wanted to clarify for members of the committee. We did at the education.
We did an executive session, but I do not believe we did it.
We did it at last month's.
Did we also do it at Finance?
Finance, correct. Yes.
Okay.
I'm getting affirmative. Okay, just wanted to clarify that point. Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, we'd like to vote to approve those items. All board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, please say nay. The items have been approved.
All right, and we have item 12D, which is our budget opt-out resolution. That is a resolution as part of the Act 1 annual budget process that requires us to keep our any tax increase that we do approve in the final budget in June to a maximum of the Act 1 index of 2.6%. I move that we approve that resolution.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Mr. Ropsky. Do we have any comments or questions about this item? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to take a vote. All board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Mr. Ropsky, thank you all, and the item is approved. All right. The next item up is our personnel report. Dr. Levinowitz is going to be covering that this evening.
Okay, personnel, we have two categories. One is the affiliation agreement with Eastern University. The other one is our complete personnel report. I'd like to make a motion that we approve both items.
Do we have a second? Thank you. Any comments or questions? Perhaps we could take a moment just to share with the community the news about the Eastern University affiliation agreement. I think it is a really positive one. I don't know if a member of the administration could just briefly, Ms. Kitten, share
Ms.
about
Kitten, probably.
Thank you.
Sure. We have looked at a lot of different opportunities to bring in natural pathways for staff to come in. So we work a lot with universities to bring in student teachers. This allows us to have a similar agreement with Eastern University for school nurses. So that is an area that a lot of people have trouble staffing. So this would give us a nice natural pathway to have practicum opportunities for those students to come in and give a chance to have them do some work here in Upper Dublin.
Thank you. I think your proactive thinking is certainly appreciated by the board, and thanks to your leadership as well on that, Dr. Yanni. Any other comments or questions about this item or about the personnel report? Okay, seeing none, all members of the board in favor of approving these items, please say aye. Any opposed, please say nay. All right, the items are approved. Thank you. Next up, we have our policy committee recommendations. Mr. Wallach is kindly stepping into the fray here this evening to cover those items.
Thank you. There was no policy committee meeting in December, and therefore the policies that were on the agenda that had been discussed in November are going to be reaffirmed as first readings, and they will not proceed to a second reading this month. So I'm going to make a motion to affirm a first reading of 5 policies: 109, 1XX, religion in schools; 1XX, student civic engagement; P237 and P716, to reaffirm a first reading of those policies, and at the same time reaffirm a first reading repeal of 2 policies that were considered the last time as well, and that would be 231.1 and 110.
Thank you. Second? Mr. Schroeder, thank you. Any comments or questions from the board? All right, seeing none, I'd like to ask for a vote to approve the policy committee items. All members in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Thank you. The items are approved. And finally, in other business, I'm actually going to speak about other business. In my very first night of opportunity to take care of some business at our reorganization meeting, we did miss a couple of items which we're going to take care of this evening. So I get the fun duty of taking care of that. And the first one is actually a very nice and very important one. So we're going to be accepting, as Dr. Yanni mentioned in his superintendent report, I'd like to actually make a motion to accept the donation on behalf of Jill Feldman in recognition of Ron Feldman to upgrade the Upper Dublin High School forum room in his memory. Do I have a second? Thank you. Any comments or questions from the board?
Yeah, I do have a couple of comments. I just wanted to thank the Feldman family. Also, there will be a plaque that Dr. Yanni and I reviewed as part of our policy. The committee to approve this item was Dr. Yanni and myself while I was still president. So there is text that there would be a plaque that would probably be hung either right inside. But again, we'd like to thank their the Feldman donation, Greenfield Film Festival too, and I'm very excited about the improvements that we're going to have in that space. I'm sure Mr. V is also very excited about that.
Yes, absolutely. I certainly affirm the gratitude that we have for the Feldman family, who have been extremely generous to the district, and we certainly miss Ron and his presence. Yes, Mr. Rapsky, you have a comment?
Yes, I shared with, the board with Ron back from 2007 to 2015. He was a great board member, dedicated to this community. He also was an Upper Dublin grad.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the board? Right, seeing none, I'd like to take a vote to approve the acceptance of the donation on behalf of the Feldmans for the forum room upgrades. All board members in approval, please say aye. Any opposed, please say nay. All right, seeing none, we have an approval. Thank you. We have, our next item is item 15B, our updated legislative meeting locations, meeting dates and locations for the 2020 calendar year. As Dr. Yanni mentioned in his report, we've not only restructured our legislative meeting dates, but also the committee meetings. All of that is listed in your agenda. It is updated on the website, and there are a couple caveats that you'll note with asterisks of when we had to do certain things if there were conflicts. But I just would like to say thank you to Dr. Yanni and Ms. Evans. It is a yeoman's bit of work to schedule this many people to get to the meetings, and it was quite a task, so thank you very much. So I make a motion to approve our new legislative meeting dates and calendar and the locations for 2020. Do I have a second? Second, Mr. Wallach, thank you. Any comments or questions about this item? Yes, Ms. Sherpier.
I think we need to clarify that committee meetings are now on Wednesdays, whereas before they were on Mondays, so we're moving to Wednesdays.
Yes, thank you. I believe Dr. Yanni may have mentioned it as well, but it's certainly good to remind the community this is a change. This is a change for the first time in quite a while, that our committee meetings will be held on Wednesdays, and that education committee will be followed immediately by policy committee, so that we can, as I mentioned earlier, have more robust opportunity for community members and board members alike to participate in those policy committee meetings, as well as then combining our finance and operations committees into one, because honestly the content dovetails so much that it was silly trying to separate it. So those will happen, and there'll be one week a month that there will be no meetings.
Just a quick question.
Yes.
We're approving the locations also. Are we moving committee meetings, Dr. Yanni, or are they staying in here?
We had talked about possibly moving to the Library Media Center, but the lighting and the audio wasn't really conducive for good quality reproduction, so we'll maintain the meetings in this room.
Thank you for that clarification. All right. Appreciate all the feedback. Do we have any further comments or questions? All right, seeing none, I'd like to take a vote to approve our new calendar for meetings. All board members in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say no. Thank you. The item is approved. Next up, we have two appointments. Our first board appointment is for this board to have a board representative who serves on the board of the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit. And the way that that works is that all participating districts in Montgomery County have a board member that serves on the MCIU board. So I'm nominating this evening Dr. Darlene Davis to serve as that board member for Upper Dublin. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Sherpier. Do I have any comments or questions? Very good. Seeing none, we'll take a vote to approve Dr. Darlene Davis as our new MCIU board member. All board members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, please say nay. Very good. We are approved. Congratulations, Dr. Davis. Welcome aboard. We're putting you right to work. Another night out. But I know that Darlene will represent us extremely well. We were just at a training at the MCIU, and she knows many, many people already, so it's going to be putting Upper Dublin in good stead. Our next item is another important appointment for Upper Dublin. We are here tonight to okay, so I'm going to nominate again to a very important role, Dr. Delvinowitz, to one he's played for quite some time as the board member for the Eastern Center for Arts and Technology Joint Operating Committee. I'm also going to tonight nominate alongside him as a backup representative of Upper Dublin would be Mr. Stan Robsky. So if I can, I nominate those two gentlemen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Sherpier. Any comments or questions? All right, seeing none, I would like to take a vote. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. Congratulations and thank you in advance to both of you gentlemen. I know, Dr. Levinowitz, you have spent countless hours supporting this board, and many, many board members from other districts have transitioned, so you are definitely serving as a mentor as well. So we thank you, and I'm certain Eastern thanks too. And thanks to Mr. Robsky for joining the team. Right, seeing no other business, other business, I'd like to make an announcement on item 16, which is the liaison committee reports. We're going to be restructuring how we provide those reports to the community. So there will be no reports this evening. We are holding a board training retreat in January. We'll be discussing how to do that most effectively going forward. And next up, if I can, I'd like to have Mr. Diazio provide the solicitor's report.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. And let me just take a brief moment to welcome all the new board members to Upper Dublin. I look forward to working with all of you. I'll start my report this evening by making the announcement regarding the executive sessions. There was an executive session held immediately prior to this meeting today at 6 o'clock to discuss various matters involving the filling and evaluation of administrative employees and staff. And then I also wanted to take a brief moment to provide the board with a brief update regarding recent legislation that Governor Wolf signed into law, which overhauls Pennsylvania's childhood sexual abuse law. That law, which was signed into law last month, eliminates the criminal statute of limitations and significantly expands the civil statute of limitations for claims of abuse. And there's now a different statute of limitations depending on if the victim was under 18 or over 18 at the time of the alleged abuse. By the terms of the law, any claims that were previously barred by the statute of limitations remain barred, and those claims cannot be revived. But moving forward, the statute of limitations is significantly expanded. What that means for school districts, this would be a good opportunity to look at applicable policies and procedures about how allegations are reported and investigated. May change, forward. Many times, although the legislation doesn't directly impact any laws that directly apply to school districts, many times alleged abuse takes place within schools or involving school activities. So it's helpful for everyone to be aware of the new law and mindful of the policies that could be impacted. Thank you. Into my report.
Thank you, Mr. Diazio. We are now up to our second opportunity for community input, and this opportunity is welcome to have comments on any topic, not just those featured on tonight's agenda. So I do welcome the community up to the podium if you have any comments. Okay, seeing none, I would like to thank the members of the community who did attend this evening. I'd also like to open and ask of the board if there are any other further comments or questions from board members before we wrap up. Mrs. Sherpier.
I just want to thank Dr. Levinowitz for his leadership in the past many years, way beyond the time I was on the board, but he has experience. We're glad we'll have the benefit of that for another cycle, and he brings a unique perspective to the district, and want to thank you for all you've done so far and your contributions moving forward.
Thank you, Mrs. Sherpier. Anybody else with comments or questions this evening? Dr. Yanni.
I would like to echo the gratitude of the board and administration to Jill Feldman for the very generous donation. The Greenfield Youth Film Festival every year is arguably one of our extreme highlights. I really, really was just blown away last year by the entire film festival, and that money that's left over every year has been collecting for some time. So we are very thankful to Jill Feldman for her gracious and very generous donation.
Yes, indeed. We are a very, very fortunate community in terms of the support that we receive from so many members. That being said, I would like to wish everyone here and watching at home the happiest of holidays, the healthiest of New Year's, and with that, I'll announce our next meeting. The next legislative meeting of the board will be on January 27th, 7 p.m. here in the Cardinal Room once again. And with no other business being seen or heard from anyone, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. We don't need a motion to adjourn. I've been informed. So that's it. And there's no gavel, so I don't get to make any cool noises. We're adjourned.